Yeah, DQ. Check. Have you ever had a dream in the daytime? Had the same dream since the playground. If you made it come true, cause you stay down. Nigga, have you ever really thought about the limelight? In a room full of stars when you shine bright. I'ma make the right move when the time right. Alright. Nigga, have you ever had a dream during the daytime? Had the same dream since the playground. If you made it come true, cause you stay down. Nigga, have you ever really thought about the limelight? In the room full of stars when you shine bright. I'ma make the right move when the time right. Calculated every step, so I can't stand a hater out here hating on niggas out.
Logic.
Yo,
You still got the other stream set up.
all right.
Give me a second.
Yeah, man. I actually really appreciate y'all joining me here tonight, man. I got a good one for y'all. I feel like I've been waiting to do this like literally since I got into the community. For real, for real. I feel like this the one we actually need. We gotta have it. This the topic we all should be talking about. It's long overdue. It really is. You know, it's I think it's like the elephant in the room, the one that's right up under our noses that we choose to ignore because we feel like we're participating in something that's bigger than us, right? And I think that's human nature. You know, we all want to have this feeling about being involved into something that's groundbreaking, something that's huge, something with big implications to it. Um, and I think that's where the dream has to start and stop, right? The fact that we under the fact that we're under the impression that we're involved into something that's that much bigger than us is really a part of the problem, right? It's like a part of the allure that brings you here in the first place. You know, it's a part of like the spell that's cast on you when you first start hearing these types of rhetoric about black unification and how to go about it. You know, you hear about these highly educated, highly esteemed scholars that are pro-black, and they spent their lives trying to attack academia and bring the greatness of black people in Africa to the forefront of mainstream information, right? And today isn't, for me to take a deep dive into their brick walls as far as what they ran into when they were attempting to bring academia down with their blackology, right? Today is really to talk about what their movement has morphed into, right? And really why and how it's so horrible. It's so horrible for actually black people here in America today. What's up, Brass? How you doing, big brother?
What's going on, bro?
I'm
Everything
chilling.
good?
I'm chilling. I'm definitely I had a busy day today. Had a lot to try to fit into a small amount of time. I wanted to be able to do even more, but I'm an hour ahead of the stream, so it's 7 o'clock where I'm at. But I set an obligation. I was late last time, and I wanted to be able to be on time this time. So So I still, I'm doing it, man. I'm feeling good about it. I feel like we really need this one. This the topic I feel like the whole conscious community ignores. They know it's there and they don't want to talk about it. And I feel like I understand why. Right? I think it's super important.
Okay, cool. Well, cook up. I'm on this debate, but I'm here for support. I'm interested in hearing um where you going. Where you going with this? I'm interested.
If somebody trip up the stairs, feel free to come and interrupt me, please. Matter of fact,
No,
that's breaking
no,
news.
no, no, no. You. I've been telling you to speak your truth, and you came out. You took the challenge. You want to speak your truth, so I want to hear it. I'm all for it.
For sure, for sure. Okay.
All right,
Well,
cook up. I'm here though. I'm right here in the back chat.
I'm just in the beginning stages, man. I feel like I got enough grievances for more than one show, so let me get it cracking.
Okay, cook up. I'm in the back chat. Just pull me up if you need me. I'm gonna
All right,
focus on the chat for you.
all right, cool. So where did I leave off at? Right, I think I was just now getting into, what's really the problem with all of this, right? Like why actually is it so bad? And I think what really makes it bad is that this particular movement was co-opted by people who were, I'm going to say, people who were maybe not as connected to the original agenda, right? And I'm gonna say that to be able to leave you some wiggle room. Because I feel like goddamn well that Dr. Clark and Dr. Jeffries and Dr. Ben and all these people are actually activists, right? And their form of activism was taking it to academia. They wanted to be able to see their greatness in textbooks. And their ideas was that seeing it in textbooks and having young black people be able to encounter that or be exposed to it at an early age would actually be really, really beneficial to their potential mindset on how they could on how they would actually be able to see themselves progressing through society and how they would be able to visualize themselves being successful, right? They didn't want our history to start off in slavery. They felt like that was detrimental, that was a part of the other groups of people's way of continually oppressing us, even after they've signed the 15th Amendment to where we're no longer considered slaves in America. I forget what amendment that is. I might be saying it wrong. It's been a while since I looked at that, but that's not the point, right? So their agenda is clearly, to me, very, very clearly, not about the correct information. Their agenda is far more about how do we reach the people and spread a message that allows them to see themselves as leaders, allows them to see themselves as great people in history, right? Allows them to see themselves as a contributing to civilization in a bigger way other than just being slaves. And I think that's actually commendable, right? That's the part about it I like. That's the part that drew me in, and I feel like that's the part that draws most people in. I mean, to want to have a way to visualize yourself as a part of greatness, that should be something important, right? Um, Now, inside of that, the small issues with that is that the only way that I have the ability to see myself as great or able to accomplish big things? Is that I need to skip through all the rest of modern history and get to 5,000 years ago when some Africans were building pyramids? Is there nothing important in between now and then for me to be able to see myself as resilient or see myself as brilliant or allow myself to feel as if I have something to contribute to the world? That's a mistake. That's a huge mistake. I'm sure that in everybody's family that there's some good examples. I mean, maybe not your immediate family. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to know that my family's pretty solid. I don't have to look very far to find some good examples of how to conduct myself in modern society. And I'm not saying everybody's in that fortunate of a situation, but speaking to everybody, I'm sure that there are some people close to you or some people that you've encountered that you could model yourself after. Something that you've encountered less than 100 years ago. I mean, I think that's actually an important thing, right? To have a mentor in whatever it is that you do. I think that's actually a brilliant thing. It speaks about it in the 48 Laws of Power. If anybody's familiar with that book, once you actually have identified some goals, it's important to start finding a mentor, somebody that can, help you along this path, somebody who's already walked it. And I know everybody's not so fortunate to immediately come across a mentor, but if you haven't, you should be seeking out one, right? And I think a lot of people have found this mentorship in people they haven't met, such as Dr. Ben, such as Dr. Clark, such as Sheikh Anta Diop. And I think this is unfortunate. You know, I think it's really unfortunate to feel so disconnected to your immediate surroundings, right? That you need to uh, create this pretend relationship to where your actions are now being graded by someone who you don't even know. You're you're now trying to gain the approval of someone you've never even met, right? Your views of the world and your values of the world go completely out the window for someone you don't even know. Think about that. Think about that for a minute. Let that marinate for real, because that's serious, right? That's like, man, that's like the ultimate letting yourself down, right there. I mean, if your own values mean less to you than somebody else's values, I mean, what message are you sending to yourself? I'll let you answer that. I won't even get into that, right? I don't want this to be a full out, just kick a person while they down type of thing. But absolutely, have some self value, some self worth, man. And so what's up to the people that's joining in the chat, man? I appreciate y'all stopping by. Drop some comments in there. I'll try to answer some questions as I get closer to the end. But I'm actually going to bring up some pretty strong points, man. I know this is the topic that really rests in the balance of the whole community, right? This is the big one nobody wants to talk about, nobody wants to address, because when you start addressing it, you have to come out of the fakeness, right? Oh, and in case y'all didn't know, it's all fake. Yeah, yeah, all of it's fake. Yeah, they know it. They know all of this ain't real. Somebody know it. They know good and well that they will never have some black nation within the USA, right? They know good and well that making the Egyptians black poses no threat to politics or your social environment, right? They know good and well that this rhetoric does you absolutely no good. But you know why they keep giving it to you? Because they kind of know you entranced with it. They just sit here and say the word black 17,000 times, and they know you're gonna catch the Holy Ghost at some point. There's nothing there's nothing you can do about it. At this point, you've made all the correct associations in your head for this to work. The white man is the devil. You can't look at the white man's information. The white man's trying to kill you. And as long as you hold on to these fears, right? These fears will cause you to actually believe this rhetoric. See, once you let all that stuff go, then you realize, hey, it's not real. It ain't real. I mean, afraid, right? I think that's when you start pushing it too far. Are there some real social circumstances that we need to watch out for, that we need to pay attention to, get ahead of, and learn how to create solutions for? Yes, right. That is the unknown, maybe a little scary, but to be afraid that all the white people trying to kill you, the vaccine is here to kill you. I mean, you dead people don't pay taxes. The dead people don't buy groceries. I mean, you're not worth anything to the American government. Did I mean once you die, they would have to replace you with another taxpayer. That's how they benefit from you, right? I mean, so when you really get all the way down to it, when you get past all the rhetoric, we're actually talking about people who benefit from selling you fear. And I don't want you to be afraid. I want you to understand, right? I want you to be confident that this is actually what's happening, because it is, right? This is some other person's version of activism. This is some other person's ideology on how to correct the black issues in America, right? This is some other person's dream that you co-opted. What about your dream, right? Even if your dream is to unite all the black people, right? It's a dream, So I'm not going to judge you based on your dream, but why is your solution somebody else's solution? Is that the best one you could think of? You ever think about that? Ironic, right? Ironic that you come into a place and realize you're not even thinking for yourself anymore. And once you're not afraid, what's up, Sid? Once you're not afraid, the rhetoric means nothing, right? When you start to realize that academia is actually not in the space it was in the 1920s, where they're absolutely trying to verify or validate their own ideologies about how black people are an inferior race and white people are the superior race. So they tried to validate it in science. Once you get past that, then you realize your war is not in academia, right? Then you realize that the front of your battlefield has moved, right? There's no need to bring up what academia said in the 1920s. That battle is over. That battle has been fought, and it wasn't by nobody on YouTube. It was other educated people, other PhDs shut it down. So what are you doing trying to shoot it down from YouTube, right? And to be clear, my rant is more so steered towards the audience. I want the audience to be able to wake up. I feel like the people that are presenting this bad information, I feel like they think they got a good thing going. They might have done sold themselves, right? They might have actually really feel like they are participating in the liberation of black people. I think they actually do, right? I'm gonna go as far as to say that they are that out of touch with what they are saying. I'm not gonna go as crazy and say that they're scammers. In the back of my mind, I feel like most of them feel like they are actually doing good by following in the footsteps of other people that they consider great. And since they consider these people great and their message great, they're adding on to it, right? Now, when I say it like that, it's not as bad as it sounds, right? It's really not that crazy. But the problem with it is like I was mentioning earlier, the battlefield has moved. It's like if we were playing football, right? You can't win a Super Bowl in 2025 with the same playbook that won the Super Bowl in 1925. It's just not gonna work. Too many things have changed since then. It's just not going to work. I mean, players are faster, they're bigger. Other coaches are smarter. They're using analytics. They're drafting better. I mean, it's just not the same game, right? The plays might even look the same. You know, we're just not playing the same game, right? Let me start getting into my presentation. So the big issue, one of the big issues, right, is that we pretend that making the ancient Egyptians black people has some social implications, right? Understanding that ancient Egyptians' racial identity is a matter of historical interpretation, academic debate, which does not directly influence contemporary social or political issues. Focusing on ancient history may not address the current systemic problems affecting black communities, right? You hear me say this all the time. So how is making the Egyptians black going to help us out in the next Flint water crisis, right? What does that actually have to do with creating solutions down in City Hall, right? Where are the policies that are going to protect our actual interests? So now that we have successfully created an ancient race of black people, what does that do for us today? Like, what can we now accomplish that we couldn't accomplish before? Like, what is this new sense of pride allow me to do that I couldn't do yesterday? I think that's a valid question, right? And I go around on different panels and I ask the question and they can't answer it. I always get some crazy answer like, "Oh, my yacht," or the last time I heard it, it was segregation. Um, the last time I heard an answer, it was Black African history. These were the answers to how does Black Egyptians help us politically. The answer was my eye, yo. That's how crazy it is. Current social and political changes. The challenges faced by Black communities today, such as systemic racism, economic disparity, police brutality, require concrete policy changes for social reform. These issues are more pressing and actionable compared to debates about ancient history. I agree. I agree big time. What in the world does Black Egyptians have to do with the wealth gap in America? Right? What does that have to do with redlining? Where do the two begin to intersect? Right? When do these conversations even merge? And the problem is they don't. The problem is talking about Black Egypt will put you way over there some goddamn where. And then talking about politics will have you way the hell over here some. They're two separate conversations. Really, looking at it that way, the longer I talk about Black Egypt, the further away I get from solutions. They ain't talking about Black Egypt in City Hall. They're not talking about Black Egypt in your city, in your town council meetings. That's not what they're talking about. I'm talking about potholes and stop signs. I like that you think it's a dumb question, Zoo, because the brightest of your ilk don't answer it. Since it's that dumb, I feel like one of them should have knocked it out the park by now. But here I am in over a year, and now having my own platform that I can speak my truth, still with no answer. Still no answer. Historical complexity, right? Ancient Egypt was a melting pot of various ethnicities and cultures due to its location and interactions with neighboring regions. Simplifying their identity to fit modern racial categories overlooks this complexity and does not contribute to contemporary social justice efforts. I don't even know if there's anything for me to say right there. I think that's just such a home run of a statement, and it just really like it really just says it all right there. It tells you that these are two totally different conversations. They don't intersect. That's what the problem is. And I know good and well y'all wasn't in y'all's history class in high school. You right talking about, man, if only the Egyptians were black, right? We'd be talking about whatever y'all want to talk about, because I think y'all's point is the silly point, not mine. I think me trying to pinpoint exactly what it is I mean when I say what activism looks like is a very direct question. Because when you answer that question with Black Egypt, you're not just muddying the waters. You sound crazy as hell to me. I don't understand how Black Egypt actually helps you in activism. Not at all. Not at all. But that was Dr. Ben's movement, right? That was their movement. They wanted to use that as a pillar of their argument. They wanted to save the baby, save their mind from the from the grips of white supremacy by telling them that the ancient pyramid builders were actually black people. That's what they wanted to do, y'all. So let's move on a little bit. I see you out on the zoo. I want you to stick around too, man. I want to be able to have this conversation with somebody who really believes this, right? I'm almost done talking, and I want to have this conversation live with somebody who really believes what they're saying, so I can hash out, get to the bottom of it, of what you're trying to accomplish, why you're trying to do it, and what does that do for the future generations. I'm interested. I actually want to have this conversation, right? Let's talk about black nationalism. I think that's an even hotter topic for y'all, right? Y'all hate the system so bad that you're willing to secede from America in America, right? You ain't say you wanted to like go to Africa and secede. You wanted to stay in America and secede, right? You want to stay in America, grow your own food, while still paying taxes on the American dollar, right? Possibly build you a military, right, to fight against the American military, or just let's just say you're not that damn crazy, and say whatever armed forces or militia you want to have is only to protect your small bubble of black nationalism. Let's just say that. That is exactly what the South tried to do in the Civil War, man. You know what the response was? They kicked their ass, yo. They kicked their ass. They wasn't having it. Federal government, as a matter of fact, right? To be dead serious, sitting up here even contemplating, or let's not even say contemplating. You can think what you want, but attempting to put into action seceding from America is actually a violation of the Constitution. See, I wasn't lying when I called y'all treasonous, y'all. All I said was just somebody call me, right? Call me so I could watch what y'all do from home, right? And cheer y'all on, right? So I don't get in the way once they come kick y'all ass, yo. I thought that was fair. I still cheer you on, you know what I'm saying? I throw the fist up in the air for sure. 100%, man. But I think what you're doing is silly as hell. Just imagine, right? Let's say Atlanta is a majority black city. Let's say some other country invades American territory and they God forbid do something to Atlanta. You think American government is gonna be like, oh man, it was just black people. It was just black people. They don't vote anyway. What? Let's say them same black people from Atlanta go to another country and become held hostage. Who you think gonna step in, man? Nigeria? Those American citizens, man. I mean, those are taxpayers, bro. That's exactly. There you go. Massa gonna step in, dog. Massa ain't playing that. He said Massa. Man, the American government ain't playing that, man. That'll be a perfect time for them to flex. They sit around on go mode anyway. They can't wait to kick somebody ass. Oh yeah, go ahead, try to kidnap him. I dare you. Shit, you tripping. Now, other countries that with their own money, with their own American dollar, would not dare take up arms against the American government. Y'all sitting over here with a job paying taxes, they got your social, they know where you live at, and y'all would dare to sit up here and act like y'all finna do something to America. You tripping, man. You're tripping, you sound crazy, and I don't want to see you blow the hell up, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't hate you. I just think your ideology kind of crazy as hell. Straight up. Straight up, man. Man, I actually Zoo got me chomping at the bit, man. I'm literally just gonna drop the thing in there. I have some more stuff I was gonna say. I'm really cutting it about 10 minutes short because I don't want Zoo to lose his enthusiasm. Thank you, Brass, because I was looking for it. Come on up here, Zoo. Hit the button, man. What you mean? Who trying to? Oh, okay, okay, I feel you. Who's scared? Now you got a big dog. And what you mean people ain't trying to do it? Any attempt to do black nationalism, any attempt, however you want to think about doing it, unless you're talking about getting in a boat and rowing yourself wherever you're trying to go, right? You are attempting to secede from America. So unless you're trying to go somewhere else, get your own resources, which I'm pretty sure on planet Earth, them resources belong to somebody. So you're gonna be kind of having to fight somebody for them resources. And if they know you got it, they're gonna be looking to take it. We ain't talking about that part yet. We just talking about the perfect scenario. If you go somewhere and you find some resources and you can make a deal with another country, start printing your own money based on the resources, blah blah blah, right? You form your own country, you get a flag and everything, right? So you gonna tell me you gonna do all of that just to fight capitalism, which nobody trying to fight? That's crazy. Do you think Russia, like doesn't have more equipment to do what you think you trying to do and they still don't do it? You tripping, man. I just would hate to see it happen to y'all. And I wouldn't laugh. I think it's just hella unfortunate. I just sit there and shake my head. But I definitely be like, man, I told them niggas so, bro. I definitely told y'all so. Don't go up there fucking with them people, man. You better find your way to make some money, man. That's real talk. You definitely got something better to do than fight America, bro. I promise you that. I promise you. Like I literally promise you, bro, you can find something better to do. The primary goal of black nationalism is to improve the well-being and safety of black individuals. War or violent conflict with the U.S. would likely result in significant harm to the very communities that the movement seeks to protect, undermining its fundamental objectives. I like that. That's right on point right there. That's right on point. So any of y'all out there trying to dismantle capitalism, that's what you got coming for you, bro. The very thing that you're trying to protect would be at risk of significant harm, is what it says. That's crazy. That's a stop sign right there. any of y'all, any of y'all out there ready to risk significant harm? I don't want no part of that, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'll let y'all have that. Let me know how it go. Let's see. Here's a good one for y'all. Alternative approaches to empowerment. Focus on empowerment within the existing framework through political representation, economic development, education, and community organization can lead to meaningful and sustainable progress without the need of violent conflict. Mm, damn. So what does that really mean? It's saying vote. It's saying get your money up, educate yourself, right, and gather your community. I mean, you don't have to be a Pan Africanism to do none of that. That's what's crazy. And what's up, Marcus? This is basic. I'm not talking about black nationalism. Okay. The link is in the chat, Marcus. If you got some time, man, you can come explain to me what you think black nationalism is, but I'm reading. I'm not even using my own definition. I guess the definition I'm reading probably wrong though. It's possible. But the link in the chat, bro. The link is definitely in the chat. For to be completely honest, I actually like Marcus, right? I think some of his ideas are. I think he has his biases that he supports that he may be forced to look at things in a way that even he's not aware of at times, right? I would want to consider myself pro-black in a different way. I think it's important for us to be able to pool our money together, maybe create some community wide size goals, right? Maybe not just individual household size goals. That's not a unique idea, not necessarily something unique thought wise, but I think that that's far more important than dismantling capitalism. Right, not saying that Marcus is anti-capitalism. I started off by talking about Marcus, but I'm more so talking about more of a group of non-active activists, Pan-Africanists that are out there making all of these crazy statements against capitalism. Right, I don't want to mention anybody particular names. They know who they are. They know who they are. They know what they represent, and I am really just here to warn you of the dangers of actually completing your mission. I'm actually attempting to help you complete this thought. This is how it ends. I didn't say I liked it, and if I'm wrong, let's have a discussion. But from what I can tell, the reason why it's here on YouTube is because out in the real world, it goes nowhere. If it went somewhere, then I think I wouldn't have to come to YouTube to hear it, right? Like I would actually see its effect on the world. I would see this ideology moving things in real life. There would be a building I could go to, a society, or some political party that is actually pushing these ideologies that feel the same sentiments behind about our African history, but they don't, y'all. Only us on here is crazy enough to believe it, y'all. And I remember, man, I'm gonna tell my story because I was one of those people. That's why I feel like I kind of sympathize with the whole thing. I was one of those people that came into the conscious community, and I was expecting to find a place online where people were bringing their ideas to combat the predicament of African Americans, right? The social predicaments, not not some made up fight against academia, right? About if the Egyptians are black or not, right? Or should we section off this part of America and call it ours? Not the fake stuff, but like the real stuff, right? And what I found myself in was very disappointing, man. It was very disappointing. And I'm glad I put some more distance between me and it. I think that's I think that's really important to just step back for a minute and really take a look at it and from a distance, and I think you'll see something different, right? I think you will see people um participating in circular arguments on purpose, right? We have like we want it to look and sound like this is about black liberation, but the whole time we're okay if all you get out of it is entertainment. See, that's like making a mockery of the same people that you hold in high regard. You think unless you think Dr. Ben was all about entertainment, which means he wasn't serious, which means he was scamming, right? Unless you telling me that Sheikh Diop was all about entertainment, that would mean he really wasn't serious and he really was scamming. That's what you saying. That's exactly what you saying, yo. I mean, African Americans will never see the world through the eyes of experts. That's just not gonna happen. I think we can incorporate some more truths here and there that might help us be able to have some more accurate answers when it comes to some things. And some of these conspiracy theories are really bad, especially the stuff that are like health related. Like we absolutely shouldn't be relying on TikTok and other non-experts for our information when as far as like health. Like that should be something that you absolutely consult with your physician about before you start taking whatever information you come across seriously. For sure. Some realms, more than others actually need that. But I think when you go down the road of um everything needs to be corrected, I think you run into a conundrum, right, of how realistic that actually is, right? Another, one of our core members makes a very good argument about his grandmother being pseudo, right? You can't correct your grandma like that. Grandma ain't trying to hear you know what I'm saying, or trying to keep up with modern science. She's set in her ways, literally. She already has her way of doing things and going about it that's worked for her for 80 some odd years. And she's gonna hold on to that. You don't, you don't have enough experiences that you can give her that's gonna sway her, right? From moving into a more scientific way of looking at things. And that is what's actually normal. What's unusual is the opposite. Is being able to sit there and recite a bunch of experts and having this expert information on hand on demand. Most people just aren't living their lives like that. That's just the truth. That's definitely just the truth, man. So I mean, there's a lot of things, about the conscious community that really make it unhealthy to be addicted to. When you sit around, you listen to it for so long, you start to believe it, right? It really starts to seep into your pores and your mind frame, and you begin to look at the world this way, right? Imagine, no, I can't even say imagine. I think a lot of y'all do that, right? I've introduced this term to the conscious community called ruminating. The definition of ruminating is to sit around and harp on particular ideas, right? And to the point where you become stuck in a mindset that doesn't allow you to have room for new ideas. And when you're ruminating about negative things, now your experiences become negative. Like you're no longer even able enjoy certain things. That's how you get rhetoric like why do we watch football, right? Like that's why you get things like, oh, everything is the white man's invention and he's trying to distract you. That's how they come about. What's up, Marcus?
What's up, Logic? What's going on?
Man, chilling, getting my little thing up, man. Airing out some of my grievances.
Yeah, that's fine. That's cool.
What you got for me, man? I know you didn't like them black nationalism comments, but that's cool
No,
too.
no, I don't. It is what it is, but I think you have to be clear on what you're talking about. Like sometimes you're blending things together as if they're one and the same, without making a clear distinction. So you have a lot of different forms of black nationalism. So uh, some people consider the Black Panther Party black nationalism. They weren't trying to separate from the government. That ain't what they were trying to do. Nor were they specifically trying to tear down capitalism. They didn't like the corruption they seen in capitalism. So you had them. Booker T. Washington was a black separatist. He wasn't trying to lead a country, nor wage war against the country. So you could always go and look at the extreme versions of any ideological viewpoint, and you can argue those extreme points, but it becomes frivolous because everyone's not that extreme.
Mm. So, so I mean, all you said was you don't include yourself in some of these extreme ideologies, right?
No, I didn't say I didn't include myself in it. I just said that what you talking about is one end of a spectrum, but you're almost like blending it there as if there isn't a spectrum that exists.
You know what? I've always respected that you have a unique take on Pan Africanism, right? And you are, you would probably be the last representative up here that represents most of what I'm talking about. That's just I don't know why you see me as like this personal antagonist, but usually the stuff I'm saying isn't even directed towards you, right? So I'm not really sure, you know, where what I'm saying is even, against your ideology. If you're not one of these extreme people, well then you certainly wouldn't be a part of one of these Pan Africans that I'm referring to. But I sit around and listen to a lot of people who claim to be Pan Africans, and their arguments are that extreme, right? Now you might, and correct me if I'm wrong, you might say, well, that's because they're not as well read as you. Well, they still claim to be Pan Africans, right? That's like if I claim to be a gangster, but I don't shoot people, right? So there are some other people who are more gangster than me, but since I still consider myself a gangster, I'm associated with that. They might associate me with people who shoot people, with somebody who shoots people. You know what I'm saying? I didn't associate. I mean, you didn't associate me with other gangsters. I associated myself with the other gangsters.
The,
I'm not doing that to you.
but
You tell me you're a Pan African.
correct. But this is my point. My point is your circle consists of limited information. That's the issue. So if I wanted to talk about African American history, but the only people I listen to are abos, then my viewpoint on what African American history is distorted because I don't know the full information or the information that is available for it. So
Mm.
if you say my idea of Pan Africanism is a conscious community, and then argue against the conscious community, then you've already lost because you already limited what your view of Pan Africanism is.
Actually, I haven't,
That's my
right?
point.
The conscious community safely resides on YouTube, on the internet. So I brought my argument on YouTube to the internet.
Yeah, that's not my point. Is you see what you just did? You see, you went to a specific people, a specific thing. You saying so this conscious community on YouTube is who you address it. That's I don't have a problem with that because most of them are wild. I'm in wholehearted agreement with that. But that's not what the title's talking about. So you took the conscious community, which we already know is wild as heck, and then interposed it to everybody as if that's a representation of all Black Power movements, and that's just not true.
Okay. Can you give me an example of black nationalism that's not extreme?
Booker T. Washington, W.E.B. Du Bois,
Go
Herbert
ahead. Give me.
Harrison, Herbert
Go ahead.
Harrison,
Go ahead. Go ahead. Tell me what you're talking about.
Herbert Harrison.
Right. Right. We're in the 30s, 40s right now.
No, W.E. Du Bois died right before the March on Washington. That's 1960.
So we in the 60s.
Yeah, I mean they have some in the 70s, 80s, 90s. We got plenty of them. That's not extreme. Plenty of movements.
Right.
That
So
ain't no
so what?
different.
So what about what Booker T. Washington was doing was black nationalism? Maybe I'm unclear on something. Go ahead.
I mean, he's in a list of Black nationalists. That mean that's
I mean,
he's
I
doing
mean, I'm trying to get you to explain it because when I looked it
so.
up, that's not what it says. But go ahead.
You looked up Booker T. Washington. He's not included into the
I'm
Black
trying to get
nationalists.
you to explain it to me, sir. Could you fill me in where I'm missing it?
Okay, so Booker T. Washington, Dr. Kareem Wright, going through his letters and his conversational pieces, um, and Manny Marble going through most of his letters, found a clear distinction that what he was trying to do was to develop a healthy Black community through a unified mode, what they call the Tuskegee experiment. And so basically, what he was doing was he was doing something like a seed program in which he was training people in his schools to go out and create new schools, satellite examples of the Tuskegee model. Um, and he was creating a network of Black people for political power. In his speech, The Atlanta Compromise, he argued that we shouldn't fight for our political rights at this time. He thought it was best to use economic and what's the other word? Industry as a mean for security and sustainability. And so he had an idea that his thing was like a hand, right? That in the United States, hand, each finger represents in some way a people, and then that makes up the unity of the nation. And so that's his idea. Booker T. W.E. Du Bois
Unity of what nation? What nation are you talking
of the
about?
United States, he wasn't a separatist.
Okay. So if he wasn't a separatist, then he wasn't trying to create some separate black nation, correct?
I said that, or that's what I'm saying. Like when you
Well,
say
I'm
black,
I'm clearly talking to people trying to create a separate black nation.
but you didn't say. I got you. I understand where the, but what I'm trying to explain to you is that while black separatism is inside of Pan Africanism, Black nationalism, right? We don't deny that it's inside of that. It is distinct from it. So when you branch them together, you lose that distinction.
I appreciate you clearing that up. I learned something. I really appreciate that. So what I'm talking about is people who fit this rigid definition that I'm about to read right here, right? It's characterized by a sense of shared identity based on a common language, history, culture, or often religion, and it seeks to promote the interests and self-determination of a nation, typically in the context of forming or maintaining a sovereign state.
Where'd you read that?
Sovereignty.
Where are you reading that from?
ChatGPT, the desire for political independence and self-governance, with the nation having control over its own affairs without external interference. Right?
Where is
So,
where
so
is
if
that
you're
source
trying,
coming from?
all I
Hold
typed
on,
in was
hold on,
definition.
hold
You
on one
want a
second.
different
Hold on one
definition?
second. Hold on one second. All right, can you share your screen, Logic?
Sure.
What's up, Mark?
What's up, Brass?
What's going on, bro? Everything good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I need the source for where he's reading it, because when you read the Britannica and Wiki, they clearly tell you the difference.
Peace to the chat.
Can y'all see it? Can you see my screen?
So
Yeah.
where's the source for that? Can you pull up the sources?
I mean, I can find a different definition if that actually helps you. Since you don't like this one in particular, I can
What
pull
are
up
y'all
another.
trying to do? Maybe I can help out. I'm trying to catch this debate, but I'll step in for a second.
So
What are you trying to look up specifically?
So at this particular moment, right, we're trying to narrow down what Black nationalism is. Keyword being Black, right? So when I'm typing in nationalism, I'm getting a definition of someone attempting to create a sovereign state, right? A state where they are controlling themselves and they have no control by external influence. Interference is what it says, and that makes sense to me, right? So when I apply that to Black nationalism, I hear people attempting to do that on American soil with the American dollar while paying American taxes, right? So, and if not only if you're doing that, you're still benefiting the American government, but you're also trying to do exactly what the South tried to do in the Civil War. They tried to secede from the United States, and we know what the response was.
Okay, give me 1 second. Go ahead, y'all can talk, but I'm pulling it up with some sources. Give me 1 second. Yeah, y'all can talk. Don't mind me.
can you while you're doing it, can you give me Britannica Black nationalism? I think it gives a clear indication that there are some distinctions between it.
Here, I'll pull it up right now.
So
No, I got you, Logic. Just talk. I got you.
black nationalism does attempt to create political power. It does attempt to create economic power, but that doesn't necessarily mean a separate government. And I don't think that I think that's actually a good thing, that Black people should have political power in and of themselves as an identity, and economic power in and of themselves as an identity. Um, I see other communities doing the same thing, so I don't see anything wrong with that. I think
You see
and
them
then
doing the same thing, but you're leaving out some key points about through what means are they doing it.
the same means that Booker T. Washington suggested, the same means that W.E. Du Bois suggested. I mean, the groundwork has been laid out. They've openly said that they've taken some points from Black Power movements. It's not a question about that. We've had discussions about that before.
All right, give me 1 second. So, I pulled up yours, Marcus. I'm gonna do the Chat GPT first, and that way we can have some comparison. Black nationalism is a political and social movement advocating for the economic and cultural political independence of Black people, primarily in the United States. Movement seeks to promote Black pride, self-sufficiency, and the creation of institutions and systems controlled by Black communities. It has evolved through various phases and has been influenced by numerous leaders and ideologies. And then there's say some the key aspects of Black nationalism. Those key aspects, I'm gonna just do that and then go to Britannica. The key concepts in historical development would be cultural and economic independence. That source is a nation within a nation, Amiri Baraka. Oh, peace to you. His son is the mayor of Newark. Political autonomy. They want political self-determination and the establishment of separate Black political entities or greater representation. Historical Figures and Movements, Marcus Garvey and the UNIA. That's from the Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey. Malcolm X, the autobiography of Malcolm X, the Black Panther Party. Cultural Movements, Economic Empowerment, Cultural Revival in Media, Political Advocacy. And then it's got a bunch of books, articles, and journals on it. Now I'm going to go to Britannica and share this tab instead. Make this a little larger for the chat. Okay. Black nationalism is a political and social movement prominent in the 1960s and early 70s in the United States. To gain popularity, the movement sought to acquire economic power and infuse among Black people a sense of community and group feeling. Which one of these do you want me to click? Can you see it? Or you want me to just click on this whole thing up here, the history part? Okay, here we go. What part do you want me to go to? It's like it looks like almost like a wiki, but what do you need from here? Or what was the difference in your eyes?
Well, if no, there's no difference. That's actually where Chat GBT pulled most of that from. The point
Okay.
is that if you notice that in those two definitions, a separate nation or the separatism that logic was trying to explain, which I think is foolish as well, isn't actually what it's talking about. So we're talking about Black people having economic power. I don't see anybody who would really disagree with that. Having a political autonomy, being able to vote for who you want to vote for, right? I don't see anything wrong with that either. And so I think what happens is that you do have, being honest, individuals who did fight for a separate nation, and you had individual and groups who fought to, such as the Black Liberation Army, who wanted armed resistance. That was in the 60s and 70s. You do have that, but that's not the whole story. And
Right.
that's my only point. My only point is that that's not the whole story.
Right.
And I
I
think
totally get that. And I acknowledge that you belong to a minority with a lot of your ideologies. But even here, as you continue to read on, it says many adherents to Black nationalism assume the eventual creation of a separate Black nation.
yeah, I didn't deny that though. I just said it's not the whole story.
It may not be the whole story, but it's like again, like I was saying, it's a part of the rhetoric. Like if you, it's all like let me just be clear, right? I'm gonna just say it. It's almost like if you really take it serious, this is when you take it serious, right? When you sit up here and act like you about to secede from the United States and form some new Black nation and get your own money and all that kind of other crazy stuff they be talking about. That's taking it serious, yo. Creating some political and economic power is not the same as creating a nation. I know that. You know that. If that's the case, then we're talking about community development. We're not talking anything at all about a nation at that point. There's nothing nation about that. Am I tripping?
You're doing the same thing that I said before that you do, which
What's
is
that?
you went from a segment, a part, and then infuse it to be the whole thing. And I understand why you're doing it, right? I understand why you're doing it. So we look at the Garvey movement, right? That's the largest movement back to Africa, right? That's
But can
cool.
I interrupt you real quick? I
Sure.
want to, when you say you know why I'm doing it, why do you think I'm doing it?
Because you have a issue with the conscious community and the rhetoric that it teaches.
Okay, so what would my issue be?
You think they
Or do you want
wild.
me to just say it?
You think they wild and their thing doesn't make sense.
No, I actually think it's worse than that. Not only does it not make sense, but I feel like it always ends in that conclusion. You are an anomaly. You are like one in a million when it comes to this. I don't think there is anybody else who's going to come up here and attempt to articulate an argument or read half an article, say that part too. You didn't read the rest of it, but that's going to sit up here and say this is where black nationalism ends for me. Because if they were only talking about, getting more economic power and getting more political power, well, political power where? Economic power where? If you're doing it here in America, then you're not creating a nation. There's nothing nationalism about that. That's participating in America. That
So
is
so
getting good at capitalism at that point.
so again, that's not what the article I wrote that Brass read said though, Logic. And that's the problem. You can't make it say something it's not saying. It tells you that these parts are part of black nationalism and that some in there eventually want to create their own nation. Did it say everybody wanted to do that? It didn't
And so
say that.
I moved the goalposts on purpose, right? I
Right.
said once you
And
start taking it serious,
hold on.
that's when you want to have your own nation.
And
Because if you're not, then what's nationalism about it?
and that's not my words, Logic. That's what the Britannica said it is. And I try to explain it to you what they're talking about, why they make that clear distinction, why they say you can be a black nationalist and not a separatist, why they're telling you it exists. There's a reason why they're saying it, because African American history is rich with a varied view on how to deal with white supremacy, and that's
No,
just
I'm
the
fine with
bottom
that.
line.
No, I'm fine with that. I'm just saying that in this particular community, the people who I've chosen to talk to,
What community? Hold on.
they
What
seem to be a
community?
part
What
this conscious
community?
community.
Okay,
The
point.
people
All right, I'm good.
who I'm addressing with what I'm talking about,
Okay, I'm good.
they seem to, yeah, I'm okay. If your problem was I was making a broad statement, then okay, I can retract part of that, and I have no problem with that. So
Well, well,
what I'm saying is you don't belong in the many. You would be the minority, and I'm attempting to have a conversation with the
I,
many.
I don't, I don't,
This is how that ideology seems to play out
I,
for me when I look at it. This is how it plays out.
right. I think I belong to the group that isn't as public as the rest. I don't know if it's necessarily. I can't give account to it. The individuals that I know that are Pan African are like me, and that's just what it is. I didn't come to Pan African through the conscious community, so I have a different
Are are
relationship.
those are those people that are like you? Are they in the conscious community?
Heck no, that's my whole point.
I'm
That's
talking to the conscious community. That's my whole
right.
point.
But that's my point though. That was my whole reason why I said that you're talking generally, but you're branching everybody together, and it's a common thing.
Now,
Like that's
Marcus,
just
Marcus, as
yes.
smart as you are, why would I get online, address the conscious community's topics, and be including people outside the conscious community?
Well, you said because you said things like Pan Africanism, Black nationalism, and it's a common rhetoric tool to take the extreme version of a view and then automatically uh, um, branch it to every part of the argument. And so that's a common thing. So you take like Dr. Claude Anderson, right? I actually like Dr. Claude Anderson, where I think he makes some valid points, right?
Is Claude Anderson in the conscious community?
But no, but listen, but he's still classified as a black nationalist.
Why would I attempt to address Claude Anderson while addressing the conscious community?
Okay, I understand what you're saying. You're saying you're only talking about the conscious community. I said I'm fine with that, long as you make the distinction. That's it. Long as you're very clear when you talk. If you indict all of Pan Africanism, I got something to say because that's not all Pan Africanism. Herbert Harrison was a Pan African. He was a editor for Marcus Garvey newspaper, right? He was an editor for it, full fledged Pan
Mhm.
African. When Marcus Garvey said, "I'm trying to create a new um, take the Africans, Americans out of America and go to Africa," he left. He didn't stop being a Pan African when he left.
Okay.
That wasn't his mode of operi. That's not what he was trying to accomplish. So he left Marcus Garvey and then helped get Marcus Garvey indicted. Like that's not a game to them. So those people were serious about their walk. They just didn't have the separatist idea to it. And while separatism sounds good and it's very vibrant in certain sections, especially in prisons and people who have suffered through low economic development and who suffer from just poverty, impoverished communities. Separatism seems good and seems valid because they feel as though they're oppressed by a group of people who are oppressing them. And so I can understand their commitment to black separatism, to leave, to develop and leave to find a better place. I understand that. I don't think that's the right method. I think that we've, as African Americans, have shed our blood on this soil and is equally American as we are of African ancestry. And I think that's something that we can be proud of. Nevertheless, I don't agree with the conscious community rhetoric. So I want to
Mm-hmm.
make that clear. I don't want anyone to mistake what I'm saying. I'm not I am not in agreement with the conscious community rhetoric, but I am in agreement with um, black empowerment.
I think black empowerment would be great, I think we need to address maybe even a lot of the ways that we say these things because I think they're dangerous. So most people, right, aren't like you. Most people don't attempt to take the necessary information in to really understand where this stuff comes from, what they meant when they said it. They really more people are more face value than that, right? Like if you go to your doctor and your doctor says you got diabetes, well, you're in your head, you just feel like I need to eat less sugar or whatever the doctor may tell you. He's not going to break it down in terms of your molecular levels over here are a little bit lower than your other levels over here, and that's causing this breakdown over here, and that is the situation in your body that we put together and call one word known as diabetes. That they don't rationalize it that way, right? Like that's not the everyday person's disposition on how they look at these things. So when you give them an idea like black nationalism is good, I think that you have now opened the door for someone to walk into it and possibly start to rationalize a separate nation being good, right? When whole time what we really need to do is look at other groups of people and just participate in some ways the same way that they're doing it, right? Uh, Brass actually introduced a new term to me, right, that I didn't know was real, and I think he was calling it the PACs, the political active committees, where other demographics just have a larger participation in these, and this is how they basically quote unquote buy their politicians, where they participate very heavily in their fundraising to where when they do become elected, the elected official owes them a favor, technically, or however you'd want to put that. You This is you participating. That's not separating yourself from a nation. That could be that can be a method of political empowerment. So tell me, so then I would ask someone who's a lot more radical than you, or you can answer this question. So when I call it black nationalism, you know, it doesn't sound like it includes me having a politician represent me in this nation. It sounds like create another nation full of your own politicians, and that's a significant difference. And I think that's what the average person is looking at when they see this. They're not taking the deep dive to try to dissect what it means, where it comes from, so on and so forth.
No, I understand your point, right? That the rhetoric that comes from separatism is much more poignant to the conditions of people. Yeah, so but that's not. But I think you are doing a slippery slope. Um, so I think you're doing a slippery slope. Uh, if we look at some of the other aspects of Black nationalism that we see, right? You'll see things like what's that thing? It was the Democratic Share Community that was done. I think it was in Mississippi or Alabama. I got to get the information. That was done. In which that was a complete political movement by Black nationalism. Um, Fascinating story. And it was dissembled by a collective effort by the Democratic and Republican Party in the South. I think it was actually 1968. They talk about it in the 1970 Pan African Conference in Atlanta. So there have been movements for that. You look at um, Black Panther Party with the screening for sickle cell and the uh, breakfast program, right? They're considered a Black nationalist group, and you don't see that. So I think what we really need to do is educate ourselves on Black political thought and some of the ways in which um, they have dealt with legal issues, economic issues, um, and things like that.
Mhm.
I don't think we should take the humanity out of Black people and allow them to be able to fully express the vision of their ideas. Right? I,
Marcus, what
yes,
was that? What was that you were trying to look up in the '60s? What was the name of it?
I think it's called the Democratic. Oh man, I hate when I miss this. The
No, take your
Mississippi.
time. Just let me know when you get it. I was
I
just trying to
think
look
it's
it up.
Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party.
And it was in the '60s in Mississippi.
Yeah, and it gave birth to it actually pushed SNCC, the student thing.
SNCC.
Yeah, it kind of like pushed them to move a little differently, which then led to the Black Power Stokely Carmichael and them. That's why they were down in that area because of this democratic attempt to create their own Democratic Party and split Mississippi.
Does it sound the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party (MFDP)? That sound about right.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's
Founded in
it.
1964 as part of the civil rights movement to challenge the all-white Mississippi Democratic Party, aimed to represent. It's often linked with the Democratic Freedom Party conceptually, as both are initiatives to provide African Americans a political representation and challenge racial segregation in politics. So, and then it went into the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. It was a key player in the civil rights movement, organizing sit-ins. Bob Moses, Fannie Lou Hamer, rest in power. And now there's the connection is they both focused on securing voting rights and political representation for African Americans. They culminated in the challenge to the Democratic National Convention in Atlantic City in 1964, where they demanded to be seated. It brought national attention. They had impact and legacy. The Democratic Freedom Party, closely associated with the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, played a crucial role in the civil rights movement with substantial support and involvement from SNCC. This partnership was instrumental in advancing voting rights and political representation for African Americans in the 1960s.
So
So that's for the
if
chat.
you look at the Stanford, um, the King Institute at Stanford, they actually give a good list of how these things developed over time. It's accurate. There's some, of course, there's information because they didn't put it all out there.
Hmm.
But nevertheless, that's my point. So these things that we're saying, um, have been attempted, and it's been a stream of thought and a stream of activism that's been since Martin Delaney, since um, Paul Cuffey, that's been since that 1790s. A stream of these ideas on how to address these issues. And as we've made progress, there were changes to it. And as we had setback, there were changes to it. And that's all I'm saying. So I say give Black people a fair chance. You can critique the movements, but try to be as uh, diligent in explaining what you're saying. That's my only concern, because you can give an impression of one thing that just it's unfair, right? I guess I have to be a little bit more um um I have to remember that I was raised in this to some degree. So a lot of things that I find to be common isn't common, if you get what I'm saying when it talks about
I
African
do.
Americans.
I keep acknowledging that you are are a minority. I even the definition said that many people take it to the extreme of wanting a separate nation. You just don't belong to the many.
Well, I acknowledge that, but just because many people may want one thing doesn't necessarily mean that they represent all. Uh, many could be 52 to 48. I would say that majority, if even if slim, could be many.
I think
So,
it's very safe to say the majority of black nationalists on YouTube, or not even gonna say YouTube, the black nationalists in the conscious community are a part of that many. All right, and you came up to speak for the minority when I thought I made it pretty clear I was addressing the many.
well, I
But
think
I definitely get it. I get you.
my thing wasn't that. My thing was, if so, you could say, like, okay, so let's say, how can I describe this?
You know what, Marcus? I actually, you know what, and I tell Brass this, right, and, I'll say it right here, like you are unique to me in a lot of cool ways. I actually respect the fact that you take it serious enough to read as much as you do, and one of the things that I was typically kind of uncomfortable with being in the pseudo color discord is knowing what my sentiments are towards Pan Africanism and Black nationalism and how silly I think it is, and having the ability to cast a net narrow enough to not hit you while I'm talking about it. I don't. I'm not trying to direct it at somebody who makes deliberate attempts to not have their ideology be wild. I mean, you're clearly taking the steps. I'm not talking about you, right?
but I
You're not. We're having a good conversation, but I wanted somebody extreme to come up here. That's more like a zoo who I could just beat them up. Like we're gonna end up agreeing at the end of the day. I mean that, which is
but
cool.
yeah, my thing is, though, right? I wasn't going to hit the link, right? But I thought
I'm
I
glad you
wanted to,
did. I'm glad you did. You're not
yeah.
interrupting me.
But I wanted to just uh, bring at least some more information. So many people may not have known about this, like now, like many people may not have known about the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, right? They may not have known that. One of the fascinating details is, because the literacy rate was so high, they created a new symbol for African Americans to vote on it, right? And I thought that was an ingenious way to address um, a current issue. But I think we should take our history serious enough that we would take time to see our progression forward, like how much we've fought for and changed, and some of the people who, in many instances, came up with ingenious ways to address situations, and how other communities recognized that and then implemented them for themselves.
Oh yeah, I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. I think that even more important than that is not the nostalgia of the people, but being able to actually implement what their goal was, regardless of having to keep their methods intact while we do it. Like just because Booker T. Washington had a goal in mind of creating economic and political power under the brand of black nationalism doesn't mean that we need to call it black nationalism today to gain economic and political power,
Well,
right?
that's equally um that's equally part of the conversation, right? Because um the most people don't know that I'm a Pan African because I don't go around making an announcement. It's not necessary. Um, but when we're talking about looking, if we're trying to look at a black people who are not monolithic, then we need to be able to describe a group in a way that can easily lead us to be able to describe or at least talk about it. So we would say things like Pan Africanism, and then we would look at the defining terms. And you can speak in a general sense of Pan Africanism. Um, but when you go into looking at Pan Africanism, you'll start to see this varied view, right? And you can do that with Black nationalism, Black separatism, and you can look at that, and then assimilation, because some black people thought it was best to assimilate fully into the American system, and there's people who fight for that even today. Some people want to hold on to the ethnic group, ethnic genesis, um, and use that as a calling card. Um, and so you have this varied thing. I think that all the movements should be critiqued equally, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I think there are issues with Pan Africanism that uh, today just wouldn't fit. It just wouldn't
Right.
work.
I feel you. I think the real short version of probably the whole thing that I'm trying to say is you you can't value nostalgia and find progress all the time. I think you become, you start to contradict yourself, or you start to have this internal battle between what are the new methods for progress and holding on to too much nostalgia. Like I think that that's like a real thing. Stuff evolves, the terms evolve, what what the obstacles evolve. So if the methods don't evolve, it's almost like you're putting yourself at a disadvantage even attempting to use it, right? Like let's let you like gardening, right? Let's say you are having a gardening competition with your neighbor, and you use all tools that was made in the early 1900s, and they're using the most modern tools that they could find. Well, yeah, they're using all the modern techniques, they're using all the modern information, and you're in nostalgia. You are using all the outdated methods, and you're not applying some of the new things that have been brought into the field or into the fold or into the circumstances after the 1920s, 30s, 40s. And they are like, you can call whatever you have at that point whatever you want. It is not as effective as the stuff that they're using, in the new age. It's just not.
So
And
let me ask you
rebranding it
something.
might be just as important as doing it. It's as doing it at all.
Let me ask you something. What was the methods that were used by Booker T. Washington?
I don't know.
What were the methods used by W.E.B. Du Bois?
I can tell you that whatever methods he was using, it's impossible that he was using modern day methods. That was 80 years ago.
Right. So
I
so
think that
my
is way more important for me to know what are the modern methods than for me to dig up what his methods were. That's what I just said.
right, but that
Why
that
do
also
I
leads
even need to know that? Explain that. Answer
right.
me that question.
But that
Why do
that's
I need to know that?
that's part of the problem though. You're saying that his methods 80 years
So
ago,
so I should get together a bunch of young people and we should go plant some peanuts.
that wasn't Booker T. Washington, that was George Washington Carver. And
Okay.
and and actually, if so, matter of fact, let's deal with that. Let's take your statement right there. That's a perfect
Oh boy.
example. That's a perfect example of what I mean. So
I ain't gonna do this, but come on, let's do it. We here now.
you just said, I'm trying to teach kids how to garden or something like that, right? And should I teach them to plant peanuts? Right? That's what you just said, right?
That's what I said. Go
Okay.
for it.
So this is George Washington Carver. George Washington Carver had a problem down in the Mississippi deltas and along the Alabama routes. They grew so much cotton that it depleted the nutrition in the soil. And so they were losing value on their crop each year because it was getting lower and lower in the harvest. They had a problem, they needed to be addressed, right? And so what they did is the incomparable, um, the incomparable uh, Carver
Mhm.
came up with numerous methods to address that issue. And one of them was to take a
To
plant
address
that
what,
we
what
call,
they were
huh?
addressing?
Huh?
What was the issue what was the issue that they were addressing? Go ahead.
The depleted nutrient in the soil from growing so much cotton and sugar. Um, and so he wanted to develop a way in which these small local farmers could still improve the soil quality while still making a profit and keeping a harvest going. And so he said the best method is to grow something called legumes, which a peanut is. And what that does is it creates a symbiotic relationship with a bacteria, pulls nitrogen from the air and deposits it into the soil. That method that I'm talking about right there is still used today. Like they tell you to plant legumes in your off season, that's bean crops. Native Americans had a similar system called the Three Sisters. So in this case, your example really doesn't fit because that method that he did then is what they call regenerative farming today. And they still use it. And so that's why
Okay.
it's important to know what the method was before you judge it and say it's 80 years ago, it has no value. That's just not true. That's
Is
not
it
accurate.
the only? Are you saying it's the only?
No, of course not. It wasn't his only method then. In the
Have,
80s, he
have
didn't
they
use
have
that.
they discovered more methods since then?
No, that regenerative farming is the leading method. If you ever look at farming and carbon credits, that's actually
No,
what
I
they're
mean
pushing
I'm
today.
with you. I'm with you.
Yeah, that's
I'm
actually no,
staying
that's
on topic. You know, if you get me, you got me. A pause.
yeah,
But if
that's where they at in the sense.
I'm not tripping off that. So even if regenerative farming is still the best method,
I
are
didn't
you
say it's the
saying it's the
best.
only method?
I didn't say it was the best.
Right.
I didn't say
I
it was the
tried to
best.
load the question up. I did.
Yeah,
I did.
yeah,
I
yeah.
did. You caught me.
Yeah, not no. What I said is the method he used then is the method they teach now, and they still use his method about training with the little the mini farm school. The USDA still does that to this day. My point is not whether it's perfect or not. That's not my point. My point is that you said it in a way that says the methods then have no value today, but you didn't
You
know the
that
methods then.
that's where you're trying to load up what I'm saying.
No, that's what you said, Logic.
No. I asked you why would I need to learn his method when I can use a more modern method? That's what I said.
Right, but his that my
I
point
didn't
is
in that saying. I'm not saying that his is outdated. I'm saying, why would I need to go back 80 years if they come up with new methods that they're working on, like with more technology, more information?
But that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. You're saying they're coming up with more, but actually they're not. They're actually implementing that then. So now they tell farmers to follow the three sisters. That's a Native American practice. They're actually saying this is the best method. So what they did then, they found actually is effective today. You can't do that. Like I'm just saying, it's not as clean as you think it is, and that's it's just not. It's just not.
Yeah, I mean, in your particular scenario, I get what you're saying, but you are deliberately ignoring what I'm saying because the conversation rests clearly on political issues. So even if we're talking about planting, right, and I'm giving you the ground to know more. Obviously, you know more about planting than I do. Why would I even need to put myself through whatever he learned to come out with new methods that are available today? You're equating that to, I'm saying that those had no value, right? I'm saying that if there are other things and other people who are using stuff that works for them now, why would I go back to bloodletting? Why would I go backwards in technology, backwards in ideology, backwards in methodology to accomplish what I'm trying to accomplish with my current predicament, with my current situation? That is the part where you are. I have to accuse you of deliberately looking past what I'm saying, right?
No,
That's the whole point of what I'm talking about.
right, right. In order to verify your statement, right, you use an example. I didn't bring up farming. You
I
brought
brought up
that up.
peanuts. I
Right.
brought up peanuts.
You and
You're absolutely right about the
okay.
farming. You're
So I
absolutely
didn't
right.
do that. You brought it up, and I said that's a perfect example why I said you shouldn't do that. And then I
Okay.
told you why.
So okay, cool. So now that we have these new or now that we have this regenerated soil, right? Now that we have this regenerated soil from regenerative agriculture, right? How do we now protect it? Like so now that we're still, so now we're back in your analogy, right? When I'm telling you that our problems have become bigger than just the soil, now what do we do?
So
I'm still, so what now am I trying to hold on to with my nostalgia and bring forward into this present predicament that we're in?
so he didn't just do the regenerative farming because there's another step. And remember that we was talking about
Yep, let's talk
economic.
about that.
We
What did
was
he do
talking
with it?
right. He was talking about economic liberation. So the school itself was a nationalist viewpoint of the world. Some would argue Pan Africanism. We can get into details, but there's a lot of books and stuff you got to pull out. But let's just say we leave it at that because he is it is listed in the list of things that developed Black nationalism. So we can leave that there. Put a point on that. He then said, "Hey, now that you're growing the peanuts, man, you're growing the sweet potatoes, and you're growing these things. We need to be able to have economic freedom. So we're going to develop value-added products." So then you watch George Washington Carver start to have patents that lead to the byproducts of what you're planting. So he's taking peanuts and he's telling you, we can take these peanuts and we can make this list of value added products, and then you can sell them. And so now you're regenerating your farming as well as developing economic independence, as well as developing a stronger farming system. And so that's what that was the step by step process. That's a methodology. Now today we may not go through those stringent steps, but we still talk about these very same things. We talk about starting businesses, right? Adding value to your products now, right? Developing these things this way, right? Ensuring that your patents are clean. And we still go through those same steps. So I think what you're trying to say is that the methods, the tools that the methods use may change, but I don't think there's many new value systems that you can find out there. So Dr. King said, if Wonder doesn't support your thing, boycott Wonder Bread.
Yeah,
Just call,
that's
huh?
exactly what I'm trying to say.
Right.
That the methods have to be changed,
Not see.
especially
I didn't say the methods. I said the tools. You come on, bro.
the tools, the methods. I mean, something's gonna have to change. You're not gonna be able to keep it the exact same for 80 plus years.
Okay, so Martin Delaney, one of my favorite individuals, just for his genius mind. Um, he said that every 20 years you should reevaluate the goals. He was a Pan-African. I think that's a beautiful concept that we might have to accept and acknowledge. But here's what I'm saying. So we can use social media now to assist in educating African American children, right? So our goal is our methods is to find development in educating our children. Right? The tools that we use, social media, the internet, STEM programs, always shift depending on the modern technology. Um, the goal is now to get us into, at least for me, right? The goal has shifted some. We want more children into STEM, right? We want to push them into STEM. Maybe not so much the social sciences, more into some of the hard sciences, right? We want to push them into agricultural development, right? So the method is through education. That hasn't changed. The tools we use and the end goals shift depending on the environment we're in, right? And we should know what methods have worked and which ones have failed.
Okay.
And you can't know that if you don't know what the method was, which is why I asked you, what was Booker T's method? What was
Right.
W.E.B. Du Bois' method? So if you know what their method was, you can say, wait, I agree with that. That method makes sense. Now, what tools do I use to bring about the goals that I want?
Right. And I understand what you're saying. See, what you're saying is what I'm deliberately passing over. You're saying that I should build off of their mistakes and use their methods and just upgrade them.
I'm saying
I'm
you should.
saying
I'm saying you should look.
let me finish what I'm saying. I'm saying that there are methods that people are using right now that work. And why not build off of their stuff that's currently working rather than go all the way back and figure out what didn't work and then figure out how to make
Okay.
it work and just to hold on to some nostalgia.
Okay. Give me a name. Give me one of the methods that you say work today.
I actually really like the Chinatowns. I really like the cultural enclaves method. I think that's doable. It doesn't seem unattainable, and it seems like something that you can do legally. I like that method.
And why did the cultural enclaves work?
I'm not sure. Tell me.
For numerous reasons, right? So let's look at it. If you was to is Brad still on here? I know he's probably looking at
What do you want me to look up? I got
okay.
ChatGPT 4.
Not
You know I'm watching the debate, Marcus. You know I'm watching the debate. Oh man, this is good. This is real good. What you need from me? I got y'all though. What y'all need?
Go to ethnic enclaves in Wiki for me.
Okay. Give me 1 second. Y'all go ahead and talk. I'll pull it up for you.
So we're going to look at it, right? And you're going to see that what you're describing is the same methods that we just read in Britannica for Black nationalism. You're going to see those same ideas. You're going to see them rehatched, readhished.
Yes, what I'm going to see is that they borrowed some things from the Pan African movement. I've been down this road. They, I'm not saying that there's no remnants of it in there, but we have a working model right here. I don't need to go back before that. I can use this working model right here and improve it. See, what you're saying is, oh, let's not say we rebuild in Chinatown. Let's say that we're redoing what Martin Delaney's doing. So now we're sitting up here saying the same thing, but you have this nostalgic element that you got to throw in there. And I'm just saying, I don't give a damn who made it. It's right here, is working. I can find a lot more information about this working model, right, than I can trying to trace back the remnants of what is inside of this working model from Pan Africanism. Neither I can't separate neither one of them. But the thing that's important to me is actually building something that works. This works. I can go and see this. I don't care who built it. That
So
nostalgic element is not a factor to me. To
so
me, it's
so
not.
so what you call a nostalgia is actually history. You saying I'm being nostalgic about it. I'm actually
Mhm.
just telling you the history of the United States. I'm telling you the history of African American. I'm telling you the history of it. It's not
Mhm.
nostalgia, it's actually the history of an ethnic group. Chinatown was started because of racial segregation. That's a history point. They were able to continue their cultural continuality is because more people from China kept coming in with an infusion of the culture. That's the history of it. That's what
What
that
did you
is.
need? What did you need read, Mark? You
I
needed something
mean,
read, or it's on the screen. Give me read something. Or you just me leave it there.
Oh, he already said it. He said he already sees it, so he already knows that
yeah,
the
if that's where you're going, I'm saying that. See, what you are bringing the conversation to is arguing about what were the remnants that they used from the Pan African movement to make this social enclave. Right?
no
You're saying that I need to go and study that to make my own cultural enclave.
no.
I'm saying I don't care whose social or cultural enclave this is. It's a working model.
So that is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is your critique of Pan Africanism and Black nationalism is kind of fraudulent if you go to a working model today that is imitating them. I find that to be facetious. I just don't get it. If you know that, if you, I don't get it. Like you're critiquing black
Oh
people, saying
my gosh.
you're critiquing black people, black nationalism. I read the first part of the black. Well, Brass read it. I didn't read it. The first part of the black nationalism, and it talks about this very same thing: ethnic pride, ethnic unity, this whole cultural thing, right? That, and then you go to ethnic enclaves and say this is a working model, as if what the black nationalists have been said isn't the same thing. Is Chinatown trying to be a whole separate country?
Okay. Okay. I guess here's the important question. Maybe you know this answer because I actually don't know this one. Right. So what? Why was the Chinatown able to be? Why was that able to be erected in the? And you don't see any more of the Africa towns. What's up with that? Why
Again,
are Chinatowns more prevalent and prominent
for
than little Africa towns?
for
What's up?
for two reasons, and I think this is why I want us to know our history, right? Because if you know the history, then you understand what transpired. The first thing I'm gonna tell you is, Chinatown, they have had some rough time. I'm not saying that theirs was a smooth walk. There were some very, very serious, problematic, racism that they faced. I wouldn't want to minimize that. But Asians came in with the model minority model, right? And if you know what the model minority was, you'll know why they've had a different path than what African Americans have. That's one. So are you aware of the model minority?
Just talking about. I've never heard of that.
Okay, maybe if Brass is so pleasantly, I know he's busy because he's the political
Man,
mad guy for us.
Trump is killing right now. Sleepy Joe getting worn out. But no, y'all go ahead. I pulled it up on the screen. Model minority concept refers to a minority group perceived as particularly successful in achieving socioeconomic success, often used to describe Asian Americans in the United States. This stereotype suggests that Asian Americans achieve higher levels of education, income, and social status due to inherent cultural values such as hard work, strong family ties, and high value placed on education.
Thank
Is
you.
that what you're looking for?
That's a good start. So basically, that's what the United States did. Like they opened about it. They said yes, and they used this model minority as a way to indict African American culture. And if you listen to some of the Asian historians, they talk about what the United States actually did to create this fragrant idea. And it's kind of inaccurate, but we don't have to get into deep details about why that is. It'll be inappropriate for this show. Um, so I'm gonna leave it at that. But the second thing is that
Mhm.
um, black people did do that logic. They did, and at the turn of the century, there was years and years of just mass murder and aggression against that, and they were destroyed. They were physically, politically, and economically attacked, and
Mhm.
the United States openly admits that they engaged in that. Um, Even when we talk about the 70s and 80s, the 50s, 60s, and 70s, the United States has already admitted that when black people attempted to do it again, they sabotaged them in an open attack against black progress.
Mhm.
So that's where we're at with it today, which is why I say we need to understand our history.
So okay,
Um,
so what would prevent them from if they wanted to do the same thing? If you were to go the route of peanuts, right? What would make that any more safe than this cultural enclave?
um,
Why would that be a better solution?
it's not necessarily a better solution. It's a different solution. You have Chinese farmers too. Not all Asians are in these enclaves. Enclaves are usually within city limits, but all black people don't live in cities, and neither do all Asians. And so with the agricultural point, that agricultural point is specifically about more of the rural areas in which African Americans have land and they're farming, and we want to make them as efficient and effective as possible. Um, Within cities, we find the same thing. I was just at a Doom Day in Philadelphia, and they're in the midst of developing Lancaster Avenue from, what did they say, 56th to 63rd Street, and they're attempting to do something similar there. From there to, I think it was down through Master Street. In South Philly, Southwest Philly, you got Vendors Row, which I happen to be a part of getting that implemented. That's the same thing. Um, so they are there. They are doing it. They are developing them, and they're trying to strengthen them. You know, those Pan Africans I said be out there, but you don't know about. They work hard, and they're attempting
The ones
to.
I'm not talking to, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're doing that, and they're working hard. And it's a step by step progress. Um, One of the things that we're aware of is that there's a visceral against Black progress. I think can't think of the book that talks about Black progress, white rage, in which you find this ebb and flow that takes place. Blacks begin to progress, and then they are hit with a visceral attack against that progress, as if
Yeah, we go down this road. We've had that conversation, and you basically you give me this gloom scenario that says that there's nothing that we can try that won't be shut down.
No, I didn't say that. I did not say that. I did not say that, bro. What I said is that it's a stage of steps. It's a slow growth progress. Um, I think there was a I think the best thing to describe it is, and I would suggest that you read this. Sherman, I don't want to take over the show, but so I'm gonna say this. I think if you read this and hear the conversation between General Sherman and the African freedmen in Atlanta, they held a conversation after he marched through Atlanta, um, and they asked the African freedmen. They were mostly ministers. They might have all been ministers now that I think about it. Um, about what steps they could do and what steps they need to take next and what they would like. And I think if you listen to their response and then think back about what you know about history today, I think you will see a great correlation and understand my point. And that is a factor that we have to deal with. We have to deal with.
Okay, so if we have to deal with it, right? What are you saying? What are you saying? It sounds like you got something in mind. I don't have nothing in mind. I think my favorite route, or at least the closest thing that I'd like to see implemented would be the cultural enclaves, because it looks like cooperative economy, right? It looks like the money circulates within this particular economy for a lot longer, and that, like, to me, that probably slowly chips away at the wealth gap, right? You can have multiple families or multiple businesses growing all at the same time, benefiting from each other in a small radius, right? That, to me, that's the one I like the best. So for you, if even if we're going back in time, you're able to use any one of these plans that you've seen put together out there. I mean, what are you saying is an effective tool against these imminent mass murderers that we face if we attempt to get ourselves out of these poverty situations? What are you saying?
Nor did I say that.
Oh,
Nice try though. Nice.
nah. So what was your point of bringing up that Africans did try it, but they face execution? Or what, you didn't use execution, but you. What was
I
your
I,
point of
I
bringing that
brought
up again?
I brought that up because you asked why we didn't see that in the black community. I can't be historically dishonest. I can't just say I don't know when it's clearly documented. In fact, they even gave it a tag name. It's called Red Summer. Like, it's not even a question about it. Like, they actually,
I
you
didn't
can
say it
type
didn't
in,
happen.
huh?
I didn't say it didn't happen.
No, I'm just saying. So you asked why. I'm telling you, said name two reasons. I told you one was the model minority, and the other was when we did do it, there was a series of economic, political, and physical warfare or attack against them. I'm not making it up. That's just what happened. That is the history. So I can't like be blinded to that, like act like it didn't happen.
Okay, so while we're still on air, go ahead and give me a solution that will prevent this from happening again. Right?
I don't
Because that could happen. That could happen if I tried to plant peanuts. That could happen if I tried to run away from America. That could happen if I tried to build a cultural enclave. So how would I protect myself from that happening?
I don't hold to a single modal idea. I don't hold to a single thing. That's just it. I don't hold that one method is going to be sufficient enough to address all the problems that we find in the African American community. I think it's multifaceted. And I don't think that what works in one area is automatically going to work in another. I think that education is the greatest means by which we can improve our situation. And if that includes ethnic enclaves or agricultural science or finding trades and industry or starting businesses or starting super PACs, I think all those things have to be implemented in order for us to see a great improvement, including reparations. I'm not excluding that either. So I think all these things are equally important. I'm not looking for a single thing. This one thing is the solution. That's not where I'm at. I'm at a multifaceted view of the situations that we fit. We have highly educated people today. I like to see more of them in STEM and more of them in law and more of them in the medical field, including experimental medicine, developing medicines. I would love to see that. Love to see more people in the STEM field, but I also like to see them in agricultural science, buying land, developing trade networks with goods and services that can be provided to those who don't grow their own food, and having awareness of things that affect the global network, such as global warming. And
I
and
like it. I like it. I actually love it. To be completely honest with you, I really hope that this is, you know, I really hope to hear more conversations like this in the conscious community moving forward. I got this strange idea. I'm gonna actually close out first, Marcus, and I'm gonna let you go last. I got this strange idea in my head that the conscious community represents the bottom floor of the ideologies of the black community. And what I mean by that is, it this is where the the worst ideas come to be vetted and possibly thrown out or kept in, and mostly not implemented, but at least they come here, right? And I see a place on YouTube, a place where we can freely gather, for the most part, speak our mind, get our thoughts out, and possibly even connect with like-minded people and be an attempt to accomplish something, right? So probably like the very bottom of my argument is that we really misuse this space. This is another opportunity that we have to possibly build something, but we use it, but we spend it on useless topics and useless information that don't lead to anything, right? And as a matter of fact, it's we're led to believe that it's leading us to something, but the whole time that's just completely incorrect, right? And I think that's really the real misfortune about what I see in the conscious community. Right, it's not that there's so many people that are wrong. It's really so many people that are misled. Right, that we're all, you know, so many people are operating under the auspices of since they care about the community, they actually have something to offer it socially and politically. And here is what it is. And what we see coming from that is Black Hebrew Israelites, Abos, or Comedicism, or Black Egypt, or something totally unrelated to social and political issues. So even if more conversations sound like this, we will possibly be able to, at least stimulate some better ideas, some more progressive ideas. And I think that should be the focus of what we demand from our lecturers as an audience. I think that that's totally fair, and I think that would make a really big difference really quickly. You got anything that you want to say before we close out, Marcus?
I think that the conscious community is going to be the conscious community. In regards to that, I don't look at it as a place of liberation. I look at it as a place for people to express their ideas no matter how wild they may be. Um, and I don't look at it as anything more than that. I do agree that it's an opportunity for people who do take certain things a little more serious or look for things to be a little more different. I do agree with that. Can get together. This is I think you're on to something. I don't want to discourage you. I think you're on to something. I think you have valid concerns and points. Um, Ones that I may not be fully equipped to answer. Um,
Nah, some of them are trick questions. I mean, the best of the best aren't able to answer that question. They don't have a answer that'll just easily, quickly get us out of our social, predicament. But that's why it's such a nuanced and difficult problem, right? The best of the best haven't come up with answers for it, so it's deep, right? It's ongoing, it's deep, it's real, right? And it's certainly miles and miles and miles and miles away from are the Egyptians black.
well,
That's what I do know.
well,
Do know
some
that.
people, some I agree. Some people are concerned about that, and I don't want to take away their right to be a human.
That's fair. They have all the rights in the world to be a human, but I think as the way it is currently presented is that it does have some social and political implications, and that's where it's a dangerous and unnecessary, unhealthy conversation. Right? Tell me you got a hobby about reading um, anything about ancient Egyptian history, and don't attempt to lead me into black people are the most powerful people on the planet because we were the first to build pyramids, have math, and all, any of that crap. Right? Let's not do that. But hey, when I go back live again on topics like these, bro, I actually love your point of view. I wish I could. I wish I could get somebody that's a little bit more of a zealot. You know what I'm saying? Because they would represent the audience of the people that I'm trying to maybe have some effect on. Like what I would like to do is maybe reach a few of those people. So next time when they get on, they might have some different thoughts about what it is they're hearing. It might stimulate them to ask some better questions from who they think they're actually supporting there. But that's what my aim is, and I'll continue to do that. I'm not discouraged. I actually really appreciate you coming on here and helping out. And I learned something from you as I always do. I always respect your point of view for sure. I don't
All
I
right.
don't like that you are the minority of the Pan Africanisms, and you're like the best Pan African I've ever run across, and you come on and represent the Pan Africans as if you are the majority of the online Pan Africans. I don't like that part about it, but I do like your perspective, and I think it's actually it's actually very cool that you are so well read on so many of these different things. So next time I get on, man, feel free to hit the button, bro. We can have another good one, and maybe even help the audience out. Reach some more people out there. I think they need it a lot. I hear a lot of people screaming for solutions, and they think they're getting it with Black Egypt, and I don't like that.
All right.
All right, bro. Y'all have a good one, man. Thanks for pulling up. I appreciate it. I enjoyed the show. Hope y'all enjoyed it too.